We've been following our wellness strategy: stop poisoning ourselves, flood the body with nutrients, and manage our stress. So today we're going to talk about the effects of stress on the elimination system. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And as we talk about elimination, we've been, of course, going through the kidneys and bowel as our main mechanisms for elimination, and the secondary mechanisms for skin and respiratory system. So what happens when we throw stress into the mix, okay? And so let's look at that and see how important it is, one, to learn how to manage our stress, and two, how this kind of chronic stress that we've got both chronic and acute stress, and what kind of impact that has on the elimination system. So first of all, just your low-level chronic stress, and you get the adrenal glands going, and it's active. The adrenal glands sit right on top of the kidneys, so you can imagine that this is going to make you pee a little bit more, okay? And that tends to be the case when you've got the stress response and you're going to pee a little bit more. The adrenals are a little bit more active, and you're going to crank things going. So the problem with that, most of the times when we're running around all stressed, is we're not drinking enough water. And so we're getting dehydrated on one side from the body clearing stuff faster than it should, and then on the other side is we're not stopping to drink enough water. So that's obviously not a good recipe for the kidneys, and we do that long enough, and we end up with some kind of low back pain that we might attribute to correctly to kidneys or not. Sometimes people say, well, I've got this low back pain, and they go get that addressed, and what it really is their kidneys are talking to them. And so pain, the kidneys actually literally can get to the point of hurting, and so it's important to keep things flushing through and keep your water. So this is back to our basic program of food, water, air, and love. We got to get that morning water. We got to get enough oxygen. All that's going to help. Okay, so chronic stress can also affect digestion, and we've talked about that before last month. And so as stress reduces the effectiveness of digestion, poorly digested food ends up in the colon, and that can cause a number of different problems from a standpoint of elimination through the colon, right? So there's a number of factors. Usually when we're stressed, we're not eating good food and we're not chewing our food. We're swallowing, wolfing our food down. Perhaps it's even mostly ice cream, a lot of sugar, which causes a lot of inflammation, so the gut gets inflamed, everything gets inflamed. And then we've got, with all that sugar that doesn't necessarily get absorbed properly, ends up with leaving some sugar go into the gut, and then you're going to get yeast and fungus to grow. And that can create all kinds of problems, because yeast and fungus tend to create aflatoxins, produce mild aflatoxins, even if sometimes they're very severe aflatoxins. You can get some very severe neurological symptoms associated with having a fungus in your system. But most of the time, this yeast or fungus, and yeast is a growth form of fungus. So when I say yeast and fungus, I'm really talking about the fungus is really the term. They will produce a mild aflatoxin that can generally hit the liver, make you a little bit constipated, cause a variety of minor dysfunctions that you probably wouldn't pick up on, but just read as general poor digestion, poor assimilation, and then leading to poor health. And so again, stress eating then triggers this really poor diet choices, too much sugar, not enough fiber, and we get that effect cascading down into the colon. There's more when we eat stress and eating. When we're stressed, we actually shut down the stomach's ability to digest. As like I said, we've mentioned that last time. But the effect of that is we get undigested food that pours into the gut, and then again it ferments, and we're back to that. And so it's a problem that obviously it's when we talk about stress, it's not just like we can isolate stress into one system and say, okay, the stress is only affecting the elimination system. No, obviously it's cascading all around. But that's one of the things that from the elimination standpoint, we end up getting constipated if we have a clogged or weak liver caused by a chronic stress scenario. Now, ironically, the flip side of that is when we have sort of intense stress, acute stress, you can actually lose elimination control, bowel control, and end up having diarrhea. So And there are some people who have a nervous stomach where their stress is really harbored in their stomach, and it causes spasms, and then or even spasms in the colon. They have spastic colon, and that can be a stress response again. And so here in that case, you can end up with diarrhea associated with stress. So it's not necessarily this absolutely clean. If it always ends up this or always does this. So you have to realize that everybody is slightly different, or so significantly different in some cases, but everyone is different. They have their own unique responses. So you have to find out what your body does, what your responses are, and you have to manage them according to yourself, according to your body. So I'm not saying there aren't some good general guidelines, which I hopefully am providing for you throughout this course, but you're going to have to own all this stuff, right? You're going to have to decide, okay, this is how this affects me. When I say, I can't tolerate, the slightest bit of fragrance, and I mean that those fragrances really are toxic, but some people don't even register that, and some people can smoke cigarettes and not really have much of an issue, where it would just devastate me to be even around cigarette smoke, much less smoke one. So what I'm saying is that we're not created equal in terms of our abilities to detoxify. The different tissue, the different body elimination systems could be robust on someone and really weak on someone else. So you have to assess for yourself and be fair about that. If you're willing to take a hit in the category of health and wellness, in other words, I know it's not the best for me, but I think my system can handle it. Then fine. You're making that decision. But if you're not as healthy and well as you want to be, that's where you start needing to intervene or make some changes. And hopefully this whole course has been a resource to you to help intervene and make changes for the better and know what to do and how to do it. Okay, so here we are. We're talking, I got a little distracted, but talking about stress and the elimination system, chronic stress, creating problems with digestion and the elimination, so we end up getting constipated most of the time. That would be under the constipation standpoint. Liver being stressed, inflammation, a lot of inflammatory processes happening in the gut from poor digestion caused by stress. And then we've got the kidneys that are sitting there flushing too much. And when you flush the toilet and it doesn't go down, you flush again, you flush again. That's kind of what stress does to the kidneys. It makes them inefficient. You're flushing a lot of water out, but you're not necessarily detoxing that much. And so it's then you can end up with dehydration and the kidneys being stressed and low back pain, and actually compression in the back can actually feed back to digestion. The poor posture or the effects of the inflammation in the gut can cause you to crunch down, and be in pain that way. And so that puts more pressure on the kidneys, and we just get this feedback loop. Okay, we've got to figure out how to break that feedback loop. So let's talk about some things that you can do to intervene, and I'm going to come back to breathing. Okay, so we've talked about a number of different types of breathing things, and if you haven't caught those, if you're just coming in now, you want to go back to some of the earlier videos, especially week 1, and basically get an overview of this concept of using your consciousness with breathing into the body and using that as a way to make some changes. But what we're going to do is the adrenal glands, which we haven't talked a lot about, but we have done some stuff into the kidneys, but the adrenal glands sit right above the kidneys. Okay, so if we breathe into the kidneys, I'm going to breathe into the right kidney, right, and breathe into the left kidney. And we've done this before, so you should be able to take 1 or 2 breaths and kind of be right there. Now, go on top of the kidney, little bean, little kidney bean, not kidney bean, garbanzo bean size gland, the adrenal gland, that sits right on top of the kidney. And so I'm going to kind of make a connection there to the adrenal gland, and we'll do more of this when we get to the hormone system, but while we're here in terms of stress response, it really is oftentimes an adrenal response. So we want to get a connection to the adrenal gland. So I'm going to breathe into the adrenal gland on top of the right kidney, okay, and ask for a color. And oftentimes right now mine is brown and black, and that's not a good color. I really want that color to be blue, or forest green, or spring green, or something fun. Or just ask for a healthy color, or I get a sense that it should be a different color. So I usually use color associated with the adrenal gland, and so I'm going to breathe in some blue, calming and blue color. I'm going to ask the adrenal gland to calm down and achieve a blue, and I can actually see that now. I can feel that and I can feel the effects. My physiology is changing. So I'm going to breathe into the left. And wow, that adrenal gland is actually white. So it's like, super stressed. The other one was kind of cranked down. So this one's probably overworking, and this one's underworking. Brown and black being sort of a, darker, slower, and white being, so they're screaming at me. So I'm going to breathe in and calm that down again, bring it down to blue. And that's not, it's resistant, so it doesn't want to do that. We'll just keep going. And coax it and love on it a little bit more. And just do as many breaths as it takes. Now, if I get into that point where I'm just, the imagery is not working, I'm going to go ahead and breathe circulation into the kidneys and the adrenal glands. So I'm going to bathe it in fluid, and of course with that fluid comes maybe some scrubby bubbles or just the love of God, just however that works for you, whatever image you want to bring in. And as I encompass the kidney and adrenal gland, actually starts to ache, so my whole left kidney must be really unhappy with me. And I'm going to just start to ask for some change of color into, maybe a green, and then slowly into a blue. So I'm going to breathe into both kidneys and both adrenal glands. Now, all of this is with the diaphragm breathing, okay? I'm just using my diaphragm, and as my diaphragm pushes down, I'm actually getting massage to the organs. It's absolutely documented that if you breathe with your diaphragm, there's a reflex system that goes back and calms down the adrenal glands. So even if you don't do any of the imagery and you're not into using your consciousness the way I'm describing, you can just, if you do it physically and you're aware of your breath and you actually do get that diaphragm to push down, you are going to recharge the adrenal glands just with the diaphragm breathing. So it helps to calm things down, helps the adrenal glands get back on track. And so that's a nice little breath that you can do when you're experiencing this idea, I'm stressed, or, I'm peeing all the time, what's going on? Maybe I could just do a little bit of breathing and calm down. On the other side, again, with digestion, you could breathe down the tube and, you could do the peristalsis massage, right? We've done that before to get a little bit of movement there, but breathe up the ascending colon, across the transverse, and down the descending colon. And just making a connection there and getting that circle to flow and help things move along. Okay, so just remembering our breathing, manage our stress through a breath or two. We have the essential oils. Lavender is a great one to calm down with. We have our release oil that we got from the very first month. Nice one to add to the breathing and release and let go. Put on the essential oils. I'll grab an oil here. I don't think I have my release oil, but I'm just, here's an oil and just a couple, 3 drops. And as I inhale it, I imagine that oil, saturating through my whole body, the energy, the calming, peaceful energy moving through my body, moving through my aura, moving through my energy system, moving through my organs, wherever I want it to move. I'm just using my imagination. And breathing that in and going to the adrenal glands, calming, caressing with the vitality and energy of the oil. So why not, right? This is just positive thinking. I'm just linking positive thinking to a physical action and the breath so that I can stay focused for a little bit. I tend to be a little scattered, and it's easy for me to get distracted. I start to pray or meditate or breathe, and I'm off into something else. So if I use that breath and I just do 1 or 2 or 3 breaths with a particular intention, it keeps me focused. So stress, we can use breathing to manage stress. We can use essential oils. We can combine those to help us manage our stress. So just a little discussion here about stress and elimination and how we can, engage in some of the tools that we've already been using the whole year here so far, and to get a better handle on our stress response, because it does affect our body in so many different ways, and elimination is no exception to that, okay? So keep on breathing, keep on daily wellness, one day at a time, and we will, now we're switch gears, and next week we'll go into the integumentary system in the skin and talk more about that. Happy wellness. We'll see you next week.